When did men all of a sudden start wanting kids? Because their whole shtick for so long was that they didn't want to settle down. They're just doing it out of spite now. Now that the women are saying they don't want them, they're like, actually, wait, we kind of do.
Have you guys noticed that this period, time and age, these men are now threatening women with pregnancy? Now they now want kids. Now they want to get married. And do you know why? Because women are running away from children. Women are running away from pregnancy. Women are running from marriage. And that is why now they are now saying that, no, you people must not run away. Oh, this is what we want. Let me show you this video, then we'll come back and discuss.
When did men all of a sudden start wanting kids? Because their whole shtick for so long was that they didn't want to settle down and they didn't want to have kids. And the message to women was like, oh, don't freak them out by telling them you want kids because they'll freak out and they'll leave you. I swear to God, pretty much every guy I have gone out with says that they're like, yeah, I want to get married and I just really want a family. I just really want to have kids. My question to you is why? I don't think y'all actually want to be a father to children. I don't think you want to like parent and raise them. I think now it's become a thing where having a family is a social flex just because it requires a lot of money to have kids. You have to be a certain caliber of man to get married now because women's bars are higher. So therefore having a woman is even more of a flex than it was before. Oh, I'm seeing the answer. It's a social flex. Okay. They're just doing it out of spite now. Now that the women are saying they don't want them, they're like, actually, wait, we kind of do. Pick a side, for real.
The thing is, before now, women were actually getting pregnant to tie men down. You see a girl, she'll just rush and get pregnant. I want this man to marry me. And that is why I'm getting pregnant. It's not because she's ready for pregnancy or anything. No. Or even the man will not want the pregnancy. She will keep the pregnancy because she wants to tie the man down. But now, men are threatening women with pregnancy. Because women have realized that getting pregnant for a man, the man is tying you down. It's the other way around. It's the one tying you down. And when it comes to marriage as well, same thing. Women have found out that when they marry a man, or they are married to a man, these men are the one enjoying the most. And men have seen that women have gotten the old scope. Now they are now interested in having kids, interested in getting married. Just tell them that you don't want to have children, you want to be child free, or you want to stay single forever, and watch their response. Let me show you guys this reaction video and I'll see you at the end of the video.
Have kids. My question to you is why?
A lot of men only want or don't want something based on how vulnerable it's going to make women. So to answer that question, back when a lot of men were saying, I don't really want kids, like I don't really want to get married even. That's because the cultural idea at large was that a wife and kids are a burden. But the truth is, even merely like 10, 20 years ago, a woman's power was tied up almost directly by how much proximity and how much commitment she could get from a man. There's been this idea for a long time that like most women don't want to be in the workforce. Most women would love to be wives and mothers, and most women are looking for that. So that was the cultural narrative, and in a way was also the cultural truth. A lot of women just felt like there was no other choice for them but to sort of walk this road of matrimony and motherhood. Okay, the reason that men feel differently these days is because women's vulnerability is now associated with being married and having children. Like now that the cat is out of the bag and women are sort of sharing about how like they trusted a man and he let them down, and now they're basically like penniless, they don't have a job, he's not paying child support. Men have all of a sudden realized that they're underutilizing marriage as a device of conquest. Women are just positioned differently in society now. The choice is no longer get married and have children or starve. Right? So withholding marriage and children was putting women in the vulnerable position of starve. Now, withholding marriage and children doesn't really matter because now the choice is marriage and children or independence or sovereignty. And when the choice is between those two things, guess which one is the more vulnerable choice? Exactly. So the whole idea behind bro code and men sort of like changing their preferences seemingly arbitrarily, it's not arbitrary. The goal of bro code and the goal of like how men position themselves next to women all has to do with the threat of vulnerability. So whereas again, 20 years ago, it would have made a woman more vulnerable for her man to say, I don't want to marry you and I don't want to have kids with you, because frankly, women were not like expected to have careers. Nowadays, it's a lot more about enforcing vulnerability onto women by whichever means is possible. And men love to do this with the help of the concept of the male gaze. You know, they're like, we want this, we don't want this, you know, whatever. And again, they're kind of realizing that it's only as powerful as its actual like practical effect on women. So the fact that men are now like, we don't want wives and we don't want children and like, etc., that means nothing to a woman because it doesn't really make her any more or less vulnerable. Women are like, okay, great, then I'll just live my life over here. What makes a woman vulnerable now is having a husband and children, is being dependent on somebody because they assume that the woman is going to be the one to bear all the burden of childbearing and caretaking and all of that stuff. And that's why men oftentimes say, we don't want independent women, we don't care about your degrees, because all of those things equal you're not as vulnerable as I want you to be. As I've said before, and I'll continue to say it again and again, men view relationships as a zero-sum game. At the end of the day, it's nothing more than a competition. A lot of men, too many men, do not think in terms of partnership. They don't think in terms of co-creation. They think in terms of dominance and subjugation. And for them, a relationship feels unfair, unequal, etc., unless they're the one on the top, unless they're the one with more power, leverage, etc. And a woman who has a job, God forbid a career, God forbid a degree, God forbid her own place, God forbid she doesn't want kids, that's a woman who's very difficult to control and subjugate. Whereas once again, before, kids and a husband were like a reward for compliant women. And now kids and a husband is the punishment for an uncompliant woman. And so whenever men start seemingly arbitrarily changing their preferences on what kind of women they want or don't want, it is always their attempt to control women through the male gaze, through the patriarchal idea that we care about what men want, even when they have nothing to offer us, right? The only reason women cared about what men thought in the first place was because getting a man to settle down with you and provide for you and have children with you, that was all viewed as an accomplishment because it brought you closer to resources and purchasing power and sort of being taken care of. Otherwise, your only other option was to die alone with cats, which implies that women didn't really have a pathway towards financial stability, success, growth, etc. Like basically the assumption was you might be able to get and keep some kind of a very low level retail job. That's why you'd have to live in this 1-bedroom apartment. You'd have all these cats, whatever, because you're so lonely. And now that we're seeing that women actually are starting to get more upward mobility than men, in a system, mind you, that men built to benefit themselves, to give themselves upward mobility at our expense. Now men are putting 2 and 2 together and they're like, oh, the kids and the wife wasn't a problem. The problem is, how are we going to control these women? How are we going to sort of gatekeep women out of the institutions that we want to control? What are we going to leverage against women? And so basically they're trying to Tom Sawyer women into wanting these ideas of children, family, you know, the farmer's market. She's just a girl. She shouldn't work under fluorescent lighting, etc. All of that is supposed to Tom Sawyer you back into completely depending on a man again. And that's why they're attracted to it again. It's really not an arbitrary thing. They're very well aware of how the power dynamics work in this system. And if you're not sure, and if you think that my theory is off or whatever, the next time a man says that he wants a family, he wants children, he wants a wife, etc., ask him what he thinks that a father and husband's role is, and see if it ever goes anywhere beyond a vague and frankly inaccurate idea of provision. Basically, he's going to tell you that all he has to do is the bare minimum. He has to go to work for 8 hours a day. He's going to bring home about 60 or 70K, and he's going to basically employ you to wash his dirty underwear and make sure he has dinner on the stove every night and pump out his legacy, his children, etc. Meanwhile, he gets to come home and kick his feet up. That's the division of labor that they picture. They do not want to be husbands and fathers. They want to have a wife and children. They're also sensing that it's about to become a status symbol. They're sensing that like women have at this point gotten so choosy that it's gonna be a flex to have one. And so they're basically twisting themselves into a pretzel, trying to figure out, how do I get my piece of this pie? This is not about them wanting families or wanting to love and care for anyone. Very few of them actually have that mentality. Most men, if you press down on it, if you drill down on what fatherhood and provision really means to them, what marriage really means to them, they have no idea. They just know that it's a status symbol. They know that it's supposed to be some kind of benefit to them, and they don't give a shit what it means to you. And so that's why they are so cynically manipulative with it and seemingly arbitrary with it. But it's not arbitrary. It just depends on something that most women are not quite yet aware of. So please be aware of that, okay?
I always tell the younger ones around me that when your boyfriend tells you that he's going to get you pregnant, run, oh, that is when you know that, before that is a red flag. Once a man is already threatening that you carry my baby, I can't wait for us to have kids together, it is going to get you pregnant because he wants to tie you down. These men are very selfish, and they have realized that women have already gotten the whole scope. Like women have woken up. Women have understood what is going on in marriage, in having kids for them. And now they are pained. Now they want to find any possible means to get the younger women. I feel like they're going for the younger girls most of the time. And that's why they always advise younger girls not to listen to we bitter women. They call us bitter women because we do not like them, right? So they are advising younger women not to listen to us so that they can easily manipulate the younger ones to get pregnant and get married early so that they can easily manipulate them. By any means you want to get pregnant for a man, make sure you are doing it with clear eye. You are doing it because you're ready. You're doing it because you have seen that if you get married or if you have a child with a man, he can leave you the next day. Are you ready to take care of the child by yourself? If you know you're not ready, you cannot handle it, don't do it. Don't get pregnant or have kids for a man because he wants it. Do it because you want it. Do it because you're ready. Do it because you have your money, you're financially ready. You have the support. Do it for you, not for him. Anyway, you guys, what's your take on this video? Anyway, guys, what's your take on this conversation? Let's have conversation down in the comment section. As always, as usual, thank you so much for tuning in today's video. I hope you enjoyed this one. Please like and share and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next one, guys. Bye.